Hi everybody, it's Richard here again and welcome to another video. Now this is the third part of my top 10, 15, 20, 30 albums of each year from 1965 up to 1989, and as I said before, I'm not doing this in chronological order. I'm putting it on my community tab, 3 years at a time for you to pick, and 3 years this time were 1969, 1978 and 1984. And 1978 won, so that's what I shall do. So it's going to be a top 20, but as normal I will give 3 bubbling unders, and the 3 I'm giving are XTC White Music, their debut album with the 2 singles, Statue of Liberty and This Is Pop, and the best song off it is Radios in Motion. It also has a version of Bob Dylan's All Along the Watchtower, which divides people. I think it's actually quite good. It's completely different. The other one I'm going to give is Lou Reed's Street Hassle. It has Give Me Some Good Times, which I love. It's got an intro similar to Sweet Jane. Actually, it is an intro to Sweet Jane. The title track itself is epic, and my favourite track off it would be Wait, which is almost like a 1950s slightly doo-wop type song, and I think it's really good. Now this is an album where he actually tries to sing, and he can't sing, but he tries. But I do like that album. And the third one is a bit of a guilty pleasure, and I'm going to go with Boney M's Night Flight to Venus, with the big hit singles Rasputin, Rivers of Babylon, Brown Girl in the Ring, Painter Man, and they do a version of Neil Young's Heart of Gold, which is better than the original. And they do a version of King of the Road, and it's just a good fun album. So my top 20, and here we go. At number 20, and it's Dave Edmunds, Tracks on Wax 4, and this is a Rockpile album. I think it's really the first Rockpile album as such, although members had featured in his album before that, Get It, but I don't think Terry Williams or Billy Bremner, one of the two, was on it. But this has the brilliant Trouble Boys on it, and there's a great video of that on the Kenny Everett Show that you can see on YouTube. And it's got Deborah, which is co-written with Nick Lowe, and it's like a Buddy Holly-esque type song, which is absolutely magnificent. There's little bits of country in this as well, like What Looks Best on You, which is good. Reader's Wives is one heck of a rocker, really good. A1 on the Jukebox, really great song as well. And Television, which was a single, was the Nick Lowe song. But yeah, it's a good album. It's not his best, but it's one of the better ones, so it gets my number 20. At number 19, and it's the Rolling Stones, Some Girls, and this is the version without the girls' faces, which I bought back in the early 80s. The big hit single, Miss You, which I think is really good. Shattered, great song. Lies is their most punk type song, along with Respectable, which is excellent as well. I do like Faraway Eyes, but I cannot stand Mick Jagger's southern drawl accent, and I just don't like it. If it was somebody from the southern parts of America doing it, I'd be fine, but Mick Jagger doing it, it annoys me. And Beast of Burden is probably one of the best songs off this. It's a really good album, and it brought the Stones back again after the slightly disappointing Black and Blue, which I actually do quite like. So that's number 19. At number 18 for me, and it's Kate Bush. She had 2 albums this year, and this is my favourite of them, The Kick Inside, and not just for the best ever single released by anyone ever in Wuthering Heights, but it also has things like Moving, which is a beautiful song, as is The Man with the Child in His Eyes. There was a 3rd single off this, but a live version, and it's Them Heavy People, the one that goes Rolling the Ball, which is really good. James and the Cold Gun is a really good track as well, and Kite, which I think is excellent, is the B-side of Wuthering Heights. A really good debut album from a very young Kate Bush. At number 17, and this has gone up for me, and it's the Kinks. It's Misfits, and I think this is a really good album. It starts off with the beautiful Misfits. It's a really mid-tempo, almost acoustic type song. You get Rock and Roll Fantasy, which is an epic Kinks song, and then the Very New Wavy in a Foreign Land, which is great. Permanent Waves is another very new wavy song, which I think is very, very good, and Dave Davis's Trust Your Heart, I think, is one of his best ever songs. It's a very, very consistent album. I think that's my number 17. At number 16, and it is the Boomtown Rats and Tonic for the Troops. And there was 3 singles off this, Like Clockwork, She's So Modern, and the brilliant Rat Trap. But the highlights for me off this are, I think Blind Date's great fun, and my favourite track off this is actually I Never Loved Eva Braun, or Braun, Hitler's Girlfriend. But things like Me and Howard Hughes and Watch Out for the Normal People. It's a very strong album. I don't know whether I prefer this to Fine Art Surfacing, but they're both as good as each other, and that gets my number 16. At number 15, and I may have had this higher, but it's dropped a little bit, and it's Street Legal by Bob Dylan. Now this is full of sax and full of keyboards, which is a big thumbs up for me because I love the sound of this album. It has 2 relatively big hit singles for Bob, especially in the UK, Baby Stop Crying and Is Your Love in Vain, which I think Is Your Love in Vain only got 50 something, but for Bob Dylan that's pretty good, and Baby Stop Crying I think actually got top 30. But this features one of my all-time favourite Bob Dylan songs, and I think it's my second favourite behind Sad Eyed Lady of the Lowlands, and it's Changing of the Guards. Now the version on this is good, but if you get the remastered or remixed CD from the 90s, it's about a minute longer. The ending goes on for, I think it's about a minute, and it really does improve it. But even with that, it's a really, really good song on here. And another one of my favourites is the last song, Where Are You Tonight? So it's a very, very strong album, and it's one of his best of the 70s. That gets my number 15. Number 14, another American, and it's Billy Joel and 52nd Street, and this is the follow-up to The Stranger. This is slightly jazzier, which would really put me off, and this did take quite a while for me to get into. But the big one off this is My Life, which I think is probably his best ever song. It opens up with Big Shot, which is a really good rockin' tune. Wasn't a single over here, I don't think. The singles here were Until the Night, which is a little bit like An Innocent Man. It's got a big rousing chorus and very sort of softly sung verses, and there's castanets and all in it. It's a really excellent track. But things like Stiletto, Zanzibar, Rosalinda's Eyes are really, really good, and this is one of his best albums. I don't think it's quite his best. I think it may be a second behind The Stranger, but it's still an excellent album. It's my number 14. Number 13, we have Elton John's A Single Man, and this is his most underrated album of the 1970s. Bernie Taupin had gone, and in came Gary Osborne, and some of these songs are absolutely brilliant. The opener, Shine On Through, is one of his best ever ballads. Return to Paradise is a really good pop song, should have been a single, never was. The singles were Part-Time Love, which is so upbeat, it's really excellent, and then the very downbeat Song for Guy, which is beautiful as well. But other ones I love off here are Big Dipper and Georgia, both of which feature Watford Football Club's players as background singers, and it really works extremely well. But yeah, Shooting Star, It Ain't Gonna Be Easy. It's a very solid album and very underrated from Elton, and that gets my number 13. At number 12, and I have Talking Heads, More Songs About Buildings and Food, and this is a band you have to be into. At the moment I'm not. Whenever I do get back into them again, this will probably go up a little bit. But the big tracks off here for me is Thank You for Sending Me an Angel, another one of my all-time favourite Talking Heads songs, and it's even better whenever you hear it live on the CD of what's it, Stop Making Sense. That's the extended version. Found a Job is another brilliant song, and then the big highlight off here is the cover of Take Me to the River. But there's other really excellent songs as well, like The Good Thing, Warning Sign, and what's the other one I like? I'm Not in Love. Very, very strong album, and it is probably my favourite Talking Heads album it's up there. I ranked the albums about a year and a half ago and I can't remember how I put them, but I know this is in the top 3 anyway. Okay, number 11, and it is The Police and Outlandish D'Amour. Yes, this has got 3 huge singles in Roxanne, So Lonely, I Can't Stand Losing You, which, you know, are fantastic. Next You is a brilliant opener, but my favourite of the LP tracks is Peanuts, which I think is the most punky type sound of The Police. It's absolutely brilliant, and especially whenever Sting shouts Peanuts near the end of the song with the guitars riffing away. Whole of My Life is alright, but it's a bit boring. Born in the 50s is very good, as is Truth It's Everybody, but it does fall apart at the end a little bit with Be My Girl Sally and Masako Tango, if that's what you call it, or Masako Tango. It's okay, but it's a very, very strong album. Those first 3 Police albums are necessities in my book. So Outlandish D'Amour is my number 11. So going on into the top 10, and we have Queen and Jazz. And this divides fans as well. Some people think it's really badly produced. I don't think it's too bad. Mustafa is a great opener, weird as hell. Fat Bottom Girls I do like, very sexist in this day and age, but I still like it. Bicycle Race is a great fun pop song, and then Don't Stop Me Now is one of the best things they ever released. It's absolutely brilliant. But it's not just that, you get other great songs like Leaving Home Ain't Easy, and Dead on Time is a really, really good Brian May rocker. Jealousy is an absolutely beautiful Freddie ballad. The 2 Roger Taylor ones I'm not as keen on. Fun It, although I'm getting to like it a lot more than I ever did. I'm more of that jazz, but it's still a very strong album, and it's Queen in the 70s, no sense. So that's my number 10. At number 9, and I have the Stranglers, Black and White. Now side 1 of this is better than side 2, but side 1 of this is really excellent, opening up with Tank, which is fantastic, and then Nice and Sleazy. You get Toiler Outside Tokyo, which is a fantastic song as well, and Toiler in the Sea is one of their best ever. But side 2 is not too bad either, because In the Shadows is on this, which was the B side, or double A side actually, with No More Heroes. Slightly different version, I believe. It's a really good song. Do You Wanna is the one I am not that keen on. And Death and Night and Blood, Yokio, I think is very, very good. And it's a brilliant track live, because they played that live whenever I saw them in 2019. So Stranglers, Black and White gets my number 9. At number 8, and we have Bob Marley and the Wailers and Kaya. Now a lot of these songs were old Bob Marley songs from the very early 70s or late 60s. But again, side 1 of this is absolutely perfect. It starts up with Easy Skanking, brilliant track, and I think it got on to the CD version of Legend. Kaya itself is my favourite track off this. Then you get The Sun Is Shining, which I think was a single in the 1990s, and it did pretty well. I think it got top 20, maybe top 10. Is This Love and Satisfy My Soul both got on to Legend, 2 fantastic songs. Things like Running Away and She's Gone, very good on side 2, but side 1 is the killer in this, and it gets my number 8. Number 7, and we have London Town by Wings. Now this gets a bit of a bad rap at times as well. This is his almost acoustic album. There's a few acoustic tracks on it. London Town was a single, did absolutely nothing. It's a little bit twee, but I really do like it. With a Little Luck, I think, is a great single, although I do prefer the single version. I think I'm the only person in the world that does. I think the album version goes on too long. I've Had Enough was, I think, the second single, and it was a poor choice. Cafe in the Left Bank is brilliant. It's pure, excellent. Wings should have been the single. I'm Carrying is an absolutely beautiful acoustic ballad, and you get the Name and Address, which is almost like a little Elvis pastiche, which I think is really good. Don't Let It Bring You Down is an acoustic sort of sing-along type song, a little bit a la Mull of Kintyre, but I think it's excellent. And More Moose and the Grey Goose is the experimental piece, but I think it is excellent. It's a really good album, and it gets my number 7. Now number 6 is The Clash and Give 'Em Enough Rope, and excuse this here tear. Funny enough, that one there has got it as well. This is the other Clash album. They were together and they got stuck and I pulled them apart and they ripped, so it's unfortunate. But this is the one with Tommy Gun on it, the best ever track by the Clash. It opens up with Safe European Home, which is an absolutely magnificent opener. This I think is better than the debut, but it is more polished in production and I do actually like that. You also get things like Stay Free, which is a great track with Mick Jones on lead vocals. English Civil War is a good single, not their best, but it's still pretty good. All the Young Punks, brilliant track as well. And Drug Stabbing Time, which is one I didn't really like at the start, but it's really grown on me. Julie's Been Working for the Drug Squad is another brilliant track. This is an underrated album and it's never up there with the Clash fans, and I don't understand why, because I think it's fantastic. So Clash number 6 in my chart, give them enough rope. At number 5, and I'm going to go with a little bit of prog here, and it's Genesis. And then there were 3. Now this is the one with Down and Out, opener, excellent. Then the beautiful Undertow. Burning Rope is in one of those fantastic Genesis Tony Banks tracks. It's a really strong album and it comes from that period where I really like Genesis, from 76 up to about 1981. Side 2 has got Many Too Many, which was a single, but the big track off this is Follow You Follow Me, which is probably their best ever single in my book. I really do like anything from, as I say, Trick of the Tail up to Abacab, and this falls bang in the middle. At number 4, and we have Blondie and Parallel Lines. Yeah, this is an iconic album. 4 massive hit singles. Hanging on the Telephone, Picture This, Heart of Glass and Sunday Girl. 2 of those getting to number 1, but there's a lot more to this as well. I've always loved Just Fade Away, even though the vocals are a bit weird on it, the backing vocals from the guys. I wish they had have sort of sang it more properly rather than the silly voices they put on, because it's a really good track. One Way or Another, which is probably one of the most famous songs off this, and I think it was a single in the 1990s, is excellent. Pretty Baby, I've always liked as 11:59. There's nothing off here that's bad at all. The only one that I'm not that keen on is I Know But I Don't Know, but it's okay. And I even do like the I'm Gonna Love You Too, the Buddy Holly cover, which is very good. This Sold by the Bucket Load, and if I was going to say to anybody what Blondie album would I start with, I would always say Parallel Lines, even though my favourite is Auto American. So Parallel Lines gets my number 4. Okay, number 3, and it is Nick Lowe's Jesus of Cool. It's his first solo album after leaving Brinsley Schwarz. There was a hit single off this, believe it or not. I love the sound of Breaking Glass, which is great. Little Hitler, co-written with Dave Edmunds. This is half a rock pile album, by the way. It's not fully. Dave Edmunds plays on this, as obviously does Nick Lowe, and I'm not too sure. I don't think the other 2 play at all. But Little Hitler, really good acoustic song. The one song I'm not keen on is Shakin' Pop, and it's a reworked version of They Called It Rock. I'm not too sure which came first. I think They Called It Rock came first and then they changed it for the album to Shakin' Pop, but it's alright. So It Goes is on this, brilliant. Mary Provost is on this, brilliant. Knotted by Reality is another fantastic track. And things like 36-inch High, which I think is really good, very atmospheric. And No Reason is a bit of a reggae tune. It's a really strong album. Music for Money is a poor opener, but it's a track that has really grown on me in the past couple of years. And then they do a live version of Heart of the City. I do prefer the studio one, but still good version. So my number 3 is Nick Lowe, Jesus of Cool. Okay, and my number 2 is Elvis Costello and This Year's Model. This is a reissue LP because it doesn't have that camera strippy thing along the side. This has 2 hit singles, Pump It Up and I Don't Want to Go to Chelsea. The American version had Radio on it, and I think it should have been on the UK version as well. But you do get fantastic tracks like the opener, No Action. I think it's below 2 minutes long, but it just hits you in the face. It's really good. This Year's Girl is another great track, as is The Beat. One of my favourite tracks off this is Hand in Hand, the opener to side 2, magnificent. Lip Service and Living in Paradise, really good, as is Lipstick Vogue. Not a bad track off this. Still just my second favourite of Elvis Costello's. I think I'd go for Armed Forces over it, but it's still a magnificent album, and I guess my number 2. And my favourite album of 1978, and it's no surprise, and it's All Mod Cons by The Jam. And again, there was 3 A-sides on this. The double A-side of David Watts, which I'm not that keen on, believe it or not. I prefer the Kinks version. And it was teamed up with A-Bomb and Water Street, which I think is magnificent, and then Down the Tube Station at Midnight is an absolute classic. But opening up with All Mod Cons and To Be Someone, brilliant, as is Mr. Clean. In the Crowd is a psychedelic masterpiece. Billy Hunt is a really good riff song. I know the chorus can be a little bit jarring, but you get used to it. It's Too Bad, very Beatlesque melodic track. Fly is a really nice ballad, and then The Place I Love is another one of those brilliant riff songs. Then on side 1 you get a track that's not listed called English Rose, which is simply beautiful. It's a brilliant album, and it gets my number 1. Okay, so that's my top 20 albums of 1978. I will be putting up on the community tab another poll for 3 more albums. I may actually just put 3 80s albums up, because I've done 2 of the 70s, 1 of the 60s, none of the 80s, and I wouldn't mind doing 1 from the 80s, but I guarantee you that the one that will win will be the one that's the earliest in the 80s, but we'll see. Anyway, that's me for now. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope to have another video quite soon. All the best now. Bye bye.